Welcome to Making a Runner. I'm your host Nick, a biokineticist, running coach, and long-distance runner based right here in South Africa. Running has shaped so much of who I am. It's what brought me behind this mic. Through this show, I get to share what I've learned, connect with fellow runners, and grow a community that's as passionate about the sport as I am. This podcast is for anyone who loves to run or is just getting started. Whether you're training for your first 10K, chasing a marathon PB, or simply running to clear your head after work. I chat with experts, elite athletes, and everyday legends who share practical insights, training advice, and real stories from the road or trail, all to help you grow as a runner and get the most out of your journey. Because let's be honest, although running isn't always easy, it's always worth it. Every runner has a story, and this is how runners are made. Andrew Erasmus, welcome back to the podcast. It's a pleasure to have you back on, my friend.
Oh, absolute pleasure to be here. It's been a while, man.
It's been too long. You are the master trail runner. You're the constant individual that wants to take me onto the trails and wants to show me the way. And I'm constantly being tested by that. And I'm very resilient in my stance right now, but I will get there. Maybe after today's episode, I'll feel even more inspired to get there.
See, man, I really hope so. It's been years of me chatting to you about going to the trails.
Yeah, no, we'll get there, bro. We'll get there. But I'm certain that the audience today will be very excited to have you on to chat about trail. And maybe before getting into the nitty gritty of it, you can give us a little bit of background about who is Andrew Erasmus.
So I got into trail running probably about 2009, build up to comrades. My brother invited me to go do Mweni. You've done a Mweni.
Done a Mweni, tough as nails.
That was the first trail run I ever did.
Wow.
And I just fell in love with it. So from there, just got into it more and more and built from there to a couple of longer trail runs and, you know, just went all over the country, saw how beautiful our country is. And that's why I'm sold on trail running. There's just so much beauty. We've got mountains everywhere that are so amazing to run in. And just did lots of mountain running, Karkloof a couple of times, Fish River Canyon a couple of times. Yeah, and I hope to keep running in the mountains.
See, here's the thing though, I see that and I love that, but when I'm running on the trails, I'm not really taking in what's around me. I'm kind of making sure that I'm not kicking the stones and kicking the steps and falling on my face. Have you now gotten to the point in your trail running career where you can actually take in the surroundings?
Yes.
Okay, so you can get there.
Yeah. Here's the problem, you're not running long enough. You see, so if you're running too short, you're running too hard. And then you don't take it in. Where
so 100 miles is what you're saying.
Grand Traverse. You know what I mean? Like, lengthen it out a bit and see. You'll see it.
We'll get to some of your crazy adventures, that's for sure. But maybe tell me with regards to trail. So you started in 2009, got into it more and more progressively. When did you get involved with Salomon?
Got involved with Salomon about 2013, I think, 2014. Yeah, and it got pretty exciting from there. But at the same time, as much as I've loved being sponsored, at the time that I got sponsored, it put a lot of pressure on me, which was actually not a good thing. I thought that everyone was expecting so much from me, and I think slowly you realize how little other people actually care about your results, and it made trail running less enjoyable for me. And it's taken a long time for me to step back, look at it and go, yeah, I'm doing it for me, and I'm not a professional athlete, and you know, we're all just really doing it for the enjoyment, so let's rather just enjoy it.
And especially when it comes to trail running, I think because as we'll chat about, you know, the times don't matter as much, you know, whatever time you can achieve over 100K or 100 miler, you know, it's all very relevant to what that 100 miler was or what the course was. So it's not as competitive in that sense, but there's obviously pressure in terms of podiuming and arriving in certain positions and then looking at your competition. And I'm sure that must take away quite a bit from the raw nature of it and the enjoyment of just being out in the bush or in the mountains and enjoying that element.
Yeah, definitely. But I think, you know, I mean, if you're putting the pressure on yourself, essentially you're not going to enjoy it unless you're doing really well. When for so many people, just to be out there and going through achieving a 100 mile or a 100K race, or even like a 45K race or a 20K race, just to get through it and enjoy it, that's an achievement in itself.
For sure.
And it's taken me a long time to realize that.
For
So you
sure.
don't have to be on the podium. You don't have to be in the top 10. No one really cares, man. As long as you finish with a smile, you've made some friends, and that's really what it's about.
With a smile, glossy eyes, some,
Bleeding.
yeah. As long as you do that. Now, I'm glad to hear that you've come around to that. I'm sure you've inspired a lot of people through your running journey, but also now you've recently started coaching individual runners. Is that so? Tell me a little bit about how that's been going. What prompted this? When did you decide it was going to be the next step in your trail running career?
So, I mean, I've thought about coaching for a long time. I just never really got into it. And I mean, it was a bit of a sad story at the beginning of the year. My older brother passed away, and he was an elite cyclist, super healthy, did everything right in his younger years. And as he got older, he fell out of a healthy lifestyle, and I had so many opportunities to chat to him about it and help him, and he died of a heart attack. And it just made me realize that, I've been racing in the mountains and I lead this lifestyle that I think is a healthy lifestyle. And I just think there's so many people out there that need that inspiration to get off the couch. Coaching isn't just about looking for elite athletes that are going to be, podiuming, doing amazing things. It's about an individual that's been on the couch that wants to start and do a 5K, that wants to push their limits and see what they are capable of. And really, I just want to try and encourage people to do cool things and lead a healthy lifestyle. Essentially, we all want to get into our 70s and still be able to pick up grandchildren, and we want to be healthy bellies, but that starts now. And I think a lot of people don't realize time flies by, you get stuck at work, and stepping into being a coach is more than just putting programs together and helping people along their journey. It's something that I'm truly passionate about, that I really do want to do.
No, that's great, man. I can see the sincerity in your eyes as you're telling me this right now. And I think the words that you said there, it's not about performance. It's about empowering someone else and guiding them along the way to achieve things that they didn't know was possible for them to achieve. And there's so much reward in that. And I think the fact that you've come around to it from an element of obviously the personal story with your older brother, but also your whole trail running career building up to this point, and now being able to give back in that sense and guiding other people to achieving these things that are possible, it really makes it quite a powerful thing. So from my side, I'm excited for you to be doing this, and I think you're going to do really well. I mean, the feedback that I've received from people already has been amazing. You really are someone that takes good care of their runners, and I think that's all that matters. I always say it's not so much about the actual science or the workouts that you're giving people or how hard you're pushing people, but it's how much do you actually care for the individuals that you're entrusted with. And you certainly care a hell of a lot, man. So I'm sure you're going to do fantastically well.
No, I definitely do care.
No, I know. You're constantly on my case, bro. So I'll say that you definitely care a lot, and that's wonderful. It's a wonderful quality that a coach needs to have. I think it's one of the most important qualities of what makes a coach a coach. Otherwise, you're just someone prescribing programs, essentially.
And I think there is a lot of that out there.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I've got a guy that I've been working with for a couple of months now. When I started with him, he had long-term COVID, and he's just been like really suffering. And we just sat down and had a chat, and he said, all I want to do is run a 5K. Like, I don't know if it's possible for me to run a 5K. And he ran a 10K last week, and it was amazing to just get that feedback where he sent me a message saying, bro, I was running, I had tears in my eyes. Like, I didn't think it was possible. And suddenly, like, you get that motivation of like, wow, it's incredible that something so small to so many people seems so simple, but to someone else it's like life-changing.
And to have been able to instrument that or play a part in it, I think it's so fulfilling, way more fulfilling than podiuming at a race.
Definitely.
So I think you're winning here, bro.
It's crazy because I didn't think that it would work like that, to be honest. I was like, I want to get into this. All the time I thought about being a coach, I was like, I need athletes to podium, and it's cool that that's not actually what it's about.
No, 100%, bro. But podiums are a thing, and they are possible. And if you take all the advice that Andrew has to give us today, I'm sure you'll get yourself closer to the podium, if not on the podium. So let's get back to trail running, bro. What makes trail running so different? Like, let's start with layering an educational start to the podcast. What makes trail running so different from road running?
I think, road running, as much as you can do a hilly race, most people are just chasing times and splits. And your training is structured around, your basic week of speed work, long runs. You don't really have to put too much time into race-specific training, where I think trail running, there's just so many different parts involved in it. You could be running trail runs at Holler Trails, and that's going to be so different to running in the Drakensberg or in Cape Town, the Otter Trail. And I just think that there's so much more to it for me. Training wise, you've got to be pretty spot on. If you're going to go to one of these events and you want to do well, or even just enjoy it, you've got to make sure that you're really structuring your training around those different parts to it.
So I think that's the training specificity. So specific training for the specific demands of a race. Of course, when it comes to the trail, also there's quite a hefty technical side to it. I think there's often, when I organize the long runs here for the running club, sometimes I'll take the guys on a dirt road, and now a road runner on a dirt road, they fall, they stumble over a rock and they fall. And I'm like, how would this person ever fare going on a trail? But meanwhile, like on a trail run, that is a key element of whether you're going to do well or not. And each type of trail has got its own technical dilemma that you need to learn to cope with. And I guess that comes down to the specific type of training that you would do for that as well.
Definitely. So it's kind of like a puzzle. I think you got to step back when you're looking at a race and go, okay, cool. So if I'm going to be racing in Cape Town, how can I mimic that terrain wherever I live? And I think that's a key part to doing relatively well in those events. Also getting a head around the fact that if you're coming from a road running background, you're not going to get into that same rhythm. And there's pros and cons to that. If you're getting into trail running and you can get your head around the fact that you're not going to get into a proper rhythm and you use it in your advantage, those other guys are stumbling over rocks and fighting through, but you're cruising through and enjoying it. And as you're catching those people, you're having a little bit of a laugh, you get more energy, and you can enjoy the fact that it's tougher. And I think you become resilient to the fact that you're out there because you want it to be tougher.
But I know you say it's like a breakup in the rhythm, but there's a certain element of rhythm or flow to that as well. So it's like finding the right flow, not trying to overchase a certain pace or a certain time, or just like letting it more come to you on trail versus like on the road. You're trying to run a 90-minute half marathon, you're going to run at 4:15 a K, and you're just clocking the kilometers. And now you're searching for the flattest course possible to do that. Like that's the mindset of a road runner. But now you take that road runner, okay? You take a good road runner, a 90-minute half marathon road runner, you put them on the trail. What do you think would surprise them the most? Someone that has only done road running, you put them on a trail, you tell them, go run this trail. What do you think would be the factors that would surprise them the most?
How much more beautiful it is, eh? What have you been doing with all your time? Yeah, I think just that break in rhythm. I think if you're a road runner, you're just on the tar, nothing's getting in your way. Mm-hmm. And now you're jumping over rocks, you're crossing streams. There's just so much more involved. Your brain's just locked in. Mm-hmm. So I think that's a big one that most road runners that I chat to, they just can't get into a rhythm when they're on the trail. They haven't done it enough.
Okay. Yeah, no, rhythm is a thing. And having done a bit of trail running, it takes time to find that rhythm on the specific terrain that you're now training on. So I know you mentioned Holler Trails. For those of you that don't know, Holler Trails is basically a very flattish type terrain. There are a few hills, but there's no mountains. There's a bit of like sandy terrain, but it is mostly like sugarcane running, undulating.
Jeep tracks.
So it's pretty easy trail running.
Very easy
trail running. But even then, if you take a road runner to that, it's still going to be very challenging for someone that is not used to it. But obviously then you have levels, right? You mentioned UTCT, obviously running in the mountains in Cape Town. That's a totally different challenge. That you're mostly power hiking, you're climbing, you're on your hands and on your knees, you're working. It's a totally different sport at that point, right?
Definitely. We've got a friend, Giovanni, who went down to Cape Town to go race the Cape Town Trail Marathon. And before he went, I said to him, Giovanni, you need to spend more time running up hills and technical hills. And he hadn't been to Cape Town before. And when he came back, I think all he said to me was, I didn't know I was going to be climbing a mountain that wasn't running. Yeah, I just think that we've got so many different types of terrain in this country.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So there it goes back to that point of yours of specific training for the specific event. And you also mentioned how, a road runner is going to realize how much more beautiful it is out there. But how should road runners change their thinking when it comes to going onto the trail? I mean, things like, should they have a goal pace, or is it more an effort that they're trying to chase? Is it okay to walk? Is it okay to hike? How do you manage all of that? Because that's probably one of the things that you don't practice as a road runner. Like yesterday we did hill repeats, and now we're doing sprint work up the hills. We're doing 10-second hill repeats. I'm telling the guys, you have a 90-second rest. Walk. If you can dare to walk. There's still people there trying to jog on the spot for 90 seconds because they just feel like they can't walk. They can't do it. That's a road runner. Trail runner has got a different mindset. Very different. So what's the mindset shift?
So, I think that if you're going to get into trail running, you should definitely just go spend some time in nature. Realize that you're doing it for that. Don't go out thinking, I'm going to go out and win all the races. That's not the starting point that you want to start at. Someone asked me the other day, I'm going to go do a trail run. It's like 100 kilometer. What advice could you give me? I said, well, if you run past a river, go for a swim. There's just so much time on the trails. No one's checking your splits and they're going to go onto Strava and go like, oh, what were you doing? Enjoy it. And I think that there is enough time on the trails to do that type of thing. Really enjoy it. Power hike if you need to. Take the views in. Make videos. Take pictures. It's so beautiful out there.
Take it all in.
Yeah, don't get locked into just staring down. You miss the whole point.
But also don't fall in the water at 3 a.m. when it's like -2 degrees outside, right? So there's a balance.
There's always a balance.
Because that's the other side of trail running. There's an actual risk to being out there, right? Especially in the trail runs that we have in our country, in South Africa. If you're going for 100K or a miler, you're going to be out in the absolute wilderness. You're going to have absolutely no one around you. Comms might even be a problem. I've got a guy that's doing 100 miles now in the UK, and their 100 miler is literally going from town to town. He can work his splits based on who's going to meet at the pub at the next town, So that's different. South Africa, you're out there, you're in the wilderness, you're on your own. There's a serious risk to that.
Yeah. Ultra Trail Drakensberg a few years ago, they started with a 70-kilometer loop through Lesotho, and it started quite late in the afternoon. So you were climbing Taba in Lesotho by yourself in the dark. The first year I did that, the wind was so strong, my eyeball actually froze, and I couldn't see out my eye. But it's so remote out there. So if something goes wrong, you'll freeze to death. You're in the cuck.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of part of the draw. It's you being alone out there and realizing how small you are in the world and how small your problems at home really are.
And we are also talking about the extremes now. 100K is 100Ks. You start off with the smaller trail runs, you build your way up to these events, and hopefully by the time you get to these major events, you've done enough trail running to know what you need, how to prepare for it, when you're actually in a bad situation, what you should be doing to get yourself out of that situation. So again, there's levels of experience, but I'm sure that you see with some of the runners that maybe come and look for coaching, a lot of people want to throw themselves in the deep end as well. Now, if you are a runner that hasn't done much trail and now you're wanting to take on a big challenge because that's what's going to motivate you to get out there, that's generally the consensus of human beings. What is your approach as a coach to that individual? Do you talk to them about those elements? Do you get them to understand the dangers of what they're trying to get themselves involved in?
Yeah, definitely. So I also think that a big part of training is trying to mimic race day conditions. And I think that if you can put people into their training blocks and go, okay, you're going to go do a 4-hour run in the Drakensberg, that's going to give them a pretty good idea of what they're going to be doing. And they're also going to be out there by themselves unless they can talk a couple of friends into going with them. And that'll give them a much better idea of what they're actually going to be doing on race day. And it's a big mental part as well. It's scary to be running out in Lesotho by yourself
in darkness
with dogs. It's super scary. So it's so good to do that in your training and go check it out, get your brain around it, and then on race day, if it happens, you're not scared. But I mean, we are talking about the extremes. There's only like 5 trail runs in this country that are actually that extreme.
Yeah.
There are loads of other runs that are actually super easy and enjoyable, and you don't need to be worrying about freezing to death or being stuck in the dark and dogs.
One of these runs is the Eland Trail. The Eland Trail that Andrew and I are organizing in October. I'm going to put the links to it in the podcast itself in Dargle and Howick. So if you are in KZN and you want to look for an accessible trail run, we've got some shorter distance options, and it's a good place to start.
Yeah, and super beautiful.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, KZN, Joburg, I think it's an accessible trail run from everywhere in the country.
So if you are someone that wants to start getting into trail running, you're a road runner, you've done half marathons, you've done marathons. Where does one start with trail running? How much trail running do you need to be doing in order to be able to go and do a trail run?
You don't need to be doing that much. I think if you're doing the local park runs and you're enjoying being off-road, that's a start. But then finding a local race, I think this weekend is Zini Bush Run. Super beautiful race. A little bit technical, a little bit sandy, nice mix of terrain.
But accessible.
It's a good start. I think there's an 8K fun run, and it goes all the way up to 27 kilometers. Your local trail runs, there are trail runs everywhere.
But don't let the distances fool you, because as a road runner, like 8K is flip, man. I do that in the mornings. 8K on a trail, it can be totally different to 8K on the road.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the things you need to look at when you're entering a race is elevation gain, and maybe just have a look at the map to see where you're going to be running, because if it's 5Ks on the beach, it's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors involved.
Now, Andrew, walking, is that acceptable? Because I know, there was that famous poster that Nike put out at Boston Marathon this year saying that walkers are tolerated. I think with trail running, walking is encouraged.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's okay to walk if you're a trail runner.
Yeah, I don't know any trail runner that hasn't done walking.
Good to know. So with that, I want to chat a little bit about trail running technique and technique of actually running on the trails. So what do you feel, because I know you've obviously done a lot of road running as well, what do you feel is a major change in the technique when you get onto the trails? Perhaps by now it's obviously something that you don't even have to think about, but have you ever felt like, oh, that is different, that is something that I have to consider?
Yeah, so I think strength work, conditioning is definitely a bigger part for me for trail running. It's obviously specific to the races that you're aiming to do, but I mean, if you're going to go run down Rockeries, that's going to hurt you.
This is again.
Yeah, that's coming down the Drakensberg from Lesotho, and you just drop over, I think it's about 5 kilometers. But it's a proper run. I mean, it's called Rockeries. There's just lots of rocks.
Yeah.
And it takes people's souls. And I think if you're not training properly for that type of terrain, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's really not going to be enjoyable. You can walk as much as you want. It's still not going to be enjoyable.
No.
So I think the biggest thing is strength.
Okay. And to speak about Rockeries, obviously we had that experience with myself and Davey where we came up with you that one time where it was snow up top there, and Andrew decided he wasn't showing off, he never shows off, but he was just running, and Davey and I, road runners, we were trying to just make sure we wouldn't roll our ankles or break our legs, and like literally sliding down on our bums where we could. Andrew was going down at 4 minutes a K, like he was on a road, literally down Rockeries, but now Rockeries covered in snow. So there's definitely an element of descending technique there that I feel is obviously learned through experience. But when it comes to descending technique in itself, what do you think is an important element that runners should try and work on? Is it, do you pick your line early? Is it where are you looking? Are you looking at where your foot is landing? Are you looking at 3 steps in front of you? Are you increasing your cadence to try and make that? Are you jumping? Like, how do you build that confidence? Because that was the thing. Like, we weren't confident. You just had all the confidence that rock was going to be there and your foot was going to land on it and you were going to be absolutely fine.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I've fallen many times as well. So I think it comes down to practice. But I think you just have to have that that belief that your legs are going to be in the right place at the right time. Your brain has the ability to look ahead of you, and your feet have the ability to land where they need to land when they need to. And you're going to come short every now and then, but yeah, that's part of it.
So tuck and roll if you need to.
Tuck and roll, man. Yeah, I mean, don't go off the edge of a cliff, but you need to just commit. And I think a lot of people don't really commit to that. You're going to be okay.
And where are you looking? Are you looking ahead or are you looking down?
No, so I'm looking ahead.
But you're picking the rocks where you're putting your feet on. Okay.
So, I mean, my brain's
like 3
just
steps ahead
going, okay, cool. If I get too fast, I can use that to slow down. I need to turn that way, so catch that rock. And, I mean, very often it's just last second you're catching corners and rocks and tufts of grass to slow you down.
And there's many times where you're like, ooh, that was a close one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, many times.
Okay. Well, luckily there's no bad stories there. So
no, I have seen people come short.
Yeah.
Meg McKenzie, she almost took her front teeth out on rockeries. So yeah, it does happen.
Rockery sounds very treacherous. I think not a place for people to start. The Holomweni circuit is quite a tough mountain marathon.
But I don't think you get more beautiful, huh?
Sure. No, I have to agree. In terms of picking your lines going down, obviously the trail is the trail, so you're following that. But are you aware of, certain lines that you're trying to take when you're going down a mountain pass or even down a normal trail in order to sort of make sure that you're cutting the course as best as possible, rather than sort of getting thrown around and landing funny or landing off the trail? Because essentially momentum takes you running downhill, and you don't want to find yourself obviously falling off of the trail.
Yeah, I think it's, obviously the trail's there and we're trying to stick to the trail as much as possible. So you're not really choosing other lines. And I think trail knowledge of the specific trail you're running on definitely comes in handy. I mean, if you know that it's going to be a tight corner or you coming to a point where you got to hit a hard right, it definitely helps.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, just sticking to the trail and hanging on.
Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. I'm sure. Are you still taking in the nature at that stage? Or are you more focused in at that point? Okay, good. You can't just be head in the clouds. Well, you can be in the head of the clouds maybe when you're going up the mountain. You can enjoy it a little bit more. A little bit more power hiking. Okay, so power hiking. How do you power hike? Do you put your hands on your thighs, or do you?
So there's a couple of different techniques, but yeah, hands on thighs and just using your arms to push down on your legs.
Okay, so you're working your arms there.
Your arms as well, just to try and take a little bit of strain off your legs.
Okay. And where do poles come in? Are you a fan of poles? Do you use poles?
I am a fan of poles.
You're a fan of poles.
It's quite like a
split decision, hey?
Yeah, I think poles in the right environments are incredible. I think you're just taking strain off your legs, saving them for the sections that you can run. Yeah. I mean, if your poles can help you get up a hill, you're just saving that energy for the next run section.
And that's the thing with the poles, you're putting most of that energy through your arms then, or you're at least assisting your legs through doing that. Is there also an element of stability that comes with the poles?
Yeah, so I mean, I actually like poles on downhills as well.
Okay.
So just being able to use them to lock in is also pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you do have to practice with it. It's not like you can just pick up some poles and you're going to be flying. And you see a lot of the European runners using them.
Yeah.
I think that comes from most of the guys are skiers. So they grow up with poles in their hands, and some people just hate them.
Well, what's the downside of having poles?
I mean, they get in the way. So if you're not using them properly, you're not eating because your hands are full. Some people will just trip over them on the way down. I saw someone stab themselves the other day with, I didn't personally see it, but yeah, someone did stab themselves with a pole.
Huh.
So yeah, I mean, I think that they can definitely get in the way, and they can be dangerous if you're not aware of what you're doing with them.
Okay, but if you are aware of what you're doing with them, you pull them out when you need them, you put them away when you don't need them, then you're actually in a pound seat to get better at trail running if you do have the poles, in your opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in the Grand Traverse, I had my poles with me the whole time. I didn't pack them away.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, the longer the distance, the more use you'll get from them, because you just want to try save the legs as much as you can.
Spreading that load over 4 limbs instead of 2 limbs. Okay. And with going up an uphill, obviously depending on the steepness and the gradient and the terrain of what you're going up, is there anything else that you think about? Is it something related to maybe improving your cadence or trying to move your feet a little bit faster, or do you spend more time on your toes instead of being more flat-footed? And how would you break up your rhythm in terms of going up a hill? Is it, I'm going to try and, because in road running, it'll be like, I'm going to run to that pole and then I'm going to walk. How does trail translate there? Is it similar?
I love to run on my toes a bit more, but at the same time, just be very aware of my body and how I'm feeling. Perceived effort. So I don't want to start pushing into the red on a climb that is massive and then end up sitting on the side of the trail for half an hour while I try to recover. So it's just trying to make sure that you don't push too hard in the beginning and you keep that effort at a steady state that you believe you can keep the whole way through that climb. Yeah.
Okay. So what separates a runner from who is quite comfortable, in the mountains, or quite comfortable going up and down the hills, versus someone who's terrified of being up in the mountains, or, coming down a steep descent? And can the downs be trained? Is it something that is trainable? Do you believe that it is trainable, or is it something that if someone's fearful of it, they should just, be careful with it and then save themselves for other elements of that race?
I definitely think it's something that can be trained, but you still have to want to train it. So I think, certain people will be really scared of descending, and it's going to take a long time for them to get around that. And if they don't, rather focus on climbing, or, there's a lot of different elements that you can focus on, and just try to get through the descending the best you can. But 100%, descending is a massive, massive thing. And I think that the people always focus on climbing. They're like, oh, people can run away from each other. I've watched people run down mountains so fast that it doesn't matter how fast you were going up the mountain.
Yeah.
They're running away from you like you're standing still. So I definitely think that it's an element of trail running that is probably a bit underrated.
I think especially as you get to the sharp end of the field. I mean, if you watch some of those trail races and those top guys, the way that they can descend, it's, they're sprinting.
It's like an art.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like, everything is in control, but at the same time, it's all out of control, and it's flowing, and it's an insane thing to watch. But yeah, I definitely believe that there's a big element of skill, but you have to be brave enough, and you have to trust yourself to be able to do it. And if you don't, at the end of the day, then your energy is better spent in other parts of, say, a long race, because you're going to drive yourself mad trying, or you're going to hurt yourself pushing yourself.
You're going to stress
what you can handle.
I think stress, it's terrible. You're not going to benefit from stressing yourself out while you try to go down a mountain because you're trying to push too hard. Slow it down a little bit. Enjoy it. Take the views in. And then you're only going to benefit from that.
Just don't trash your legs. Don't be in between, I think. Don't do the in between. I'm not fully committed, but I'm going to try to go hard, because that's, I think, how you really can hurt yourself. Either 100% in or you're not.
Yeah, no, commit fully, or take it easy and enjoy the view.
Okay, I'll take that advice, guys. I hope that it works. Andrew, you mentioned strength, how you find that's quite a differentiating factor between road running and trail running. What would you recommend from a strength perspective that people can do at home that is just very basic, that they could work on actively getting stronger today?
Yeah, I think, every trail race is different, so it's going to also vary what you're signing up for and what you're training for. I think that there's a lot of plyometrics exercises and strength exercises that you can get that are online on YouTube, that are very basic. And I think when you're trying to do your strength work, it mustn't specifically be mimicking the running that you're trying to do. I mean, unless you're in an environment that you can't train for, say, Ultra Trail Cape Town, we live in Belito. But if you're going to be training for flowing single track, go to Hollow Trails. Don't try and mimic that in the gym. I think if you're going to do gym work, do the gym work that is going to...
On its merit.
Yeah, on its merit.
Yeah.
Don't just do more of what you're normally doing.
No, fair enough. I think a lot of people try to overcomplicate it, and in overcomplicating it, they never get around to doing it because they're like, oh, I don't even know where to begin. Meanwhile, it's like, just do a squat, just do a lunge, just do a wall sit, do the basics, and it's still going to translate. It's going to make your legs stronger. It's going to make your joints better. You'll be able to handle those downhills at rockeries better.
Definitely. And obviously, I mean, do as much of the running that you can in the environment that you're going to be racing, and then, that's going to make you stronger as well.
Now, trail shoes. Obviously, this is a big topic because trail shoes and road running shoes are totally different. I do respect that you're a Salomon athlete, so you can't really give me recommendations on a broad range of trail shoes. But let's start off maybe with the major differences between a road running shoe and a trail running shoe. Why should a runner get a trail running shoe if they're going into trail? And at what point do they need to cross over to a trail running shoe? And is there anything that you can do on the trail with a normal road running shoe?
Yeah, so I think it just depends on the trails that you're going to be running. I think, if you are running Jeep track, your normal road shoes will generally work. I think when you start getting to a bit more technical terrain, muddier, river crossings, that type of stuff, then you start looking at the grip that you've got at the bottom of your shoes and also the stability of the shoes. I think a lot of road running shoes are a little bit unstable. And trail running shoes just generally have a bit more stability in them just to help you with your ankles so you're not rolling your ankles the whole time. So I think, if you're getting into trail running and you're running the park runs and that type of stuff, road running shoes will do. I don't think that you have to go get another 3 pairs of shoes just because you're going to start getting into it.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want to.
And if you do, go to Salomon.
Yeah, go to Salomon.
But let's speak about Salomon, bro. Like, obviously, they've got a good range of shoes. And, in the last few years, they've been really getting into the road running market as well. And I've been open about saying how I've really enjoyed their road running shoes. And obviously, I also have their trail running shoes. What is sort of your favorite shoe of theirs that you would recommend to runners, both from a road and trail perspective?
So I think from a road perspective, the Aeroglides have been a fantastic shoe for me. I've really enjoyed them. I think that Salomon's they've got to the point where they're getting their foams right. And they've also made the toe box a little bit wider, which has been a big jump for them. So I definitely think that those are a good shoe, and I think that I'm looking forward to where that goes.
Yeah.
It's great.
They've got really good range on that shoe. Like, you can use it for your speed work, you can use it for your long runs. They've got a nice bounce.
Some solid energy return, which is fantastic. I think a lot of people ran in the older shoes, and they've got that mindset that it's just a flat shoe, and they're always very narrow, and my feet don't fit in. But the newer ranges are definitely starting to address all those issues.
On the trail, should I go get a speed cross? Because that's, I think, the question that everybody wants to know. Speed Cross 5. No.
I think Speed Cross is what kept Salomon in the country, but they're definitely not a good shoe for trail running. I think if you're going to be, going to a club or a bar and you want to wear them to
look cool,
then that's a fantastic shoe for that. But I think, Salomon's they've put so much time into designing shoes that there's such a wide range. And I mean, same for any brand. There's no one specific shoe that everyone can run in and love. So it's quite a hard thing to say, this is a great shoe, everyone should go get it, when everyone's different. Salomon's also come out with their gravel range, which is fantastic. It's in betweener. So it's the road shoe with a bit more grip on the bottom. And that's perfect for the guys that we've got around here that are running on Jeep track and that type of stuff. A little bit more grip, but still super comfortable. So they're amazing shoes.
Yeah, look, they've got a nice range, and I think when it comes to shoes in general, you just got to go try them out, see what fits, how it feels. But in terms of a shoe that can do a lot of things, both on the road and on the trail, I have to personally vouch for it as well. On a trail perspective, what is your favorite Salomon trail running shoe?
So it's quite tricky. I'm very keen to get my hands on the new S-Lab Genesis. They just got launched yesterday, and they look incredible. So I'm going to have to give you some feedback on that. But the Genesis range has grown a lot. I think you've got a pair.
I've got a pair, yes.
Yeah, and they've come a long way from there. There's a lot more. The foams have changed. The uppers are really rugged. So it's a type of shoe that will work perfectly for 100 milers, for the Grand Traverse, that type of stuff. So I'm very excited to get my hands on a pair.
Cool, man. Well, I look forward to hearing that feedback, and maybe it'll persuade me to get a new pair of Genesis as we go along. But let's move on to the fueling element of trail running. I mean, I think obviously I've spoken a lot about fueling on the podcast in general, and I think it applies across the board. But obviously with trail running, there's different elements that you got to think about, because not all trail races have got, a table every 3 kilometers that you can just pick up your sachet of water and run through. A lot of these trail races expect you to either have a belt or carry your own hydration or have a pack. So there's a lot of considerations there that runners have to think about. So where would someone start when it comes to fueling themselves for a trail run? And should anyone starting trail running have a pack, or is there sort of a prerequisite to get to that point?
Yeah, I don't. If you're starting out, I don't think that you need to have a pack. It's nice to have, and I think if you're going to be doing longer runs, 20 kilometers and over, specifically for your training runs, it's fantastic to have a pack that you can carry your hydration, your nutrition, all that type of stuff. So, yeah, I think if you're getting started up to 15 Ks, I think you can carry a bottle if you want to. Don't go out and spend a huge amount of money if you're not fully committed to trail yet. But once you're getting into it, then you definitely need to get a good, comfortable pack. It's an essential.
Now, when it comes to actually what you could eat on a trail run, because the effort and intensity is a lot easier or slower, you don't necessarily have to stick to a gel only or only race fuel, like a road running type scenario. What would you advise in terms of nutrition to a trail runner?
So I think it's going to also depend on the distance that you're running, which is going to be linked to the intensity that you're running. So if you're going to be running over 100 kilometers, then definitely start getting solid foods in, and early on, so that your stomach has got something in. You're still getting blood to your stomach, your intensity is lower, and you can break those foods down. Everyone's different, and I think that you've got to test it in your training to make sure that what you're taking in you're going to enjoy. I think, when you're in the shops the week before your race, what your brain's telling you you're going to want to eat is very different to how you feel when you get to kilometer 60. So it needs to be tested so that you're packing the right stuff, and also just keep a variety. A lot of the races you'll go through aid stations, every 16 kilometers, where you can maybe meet up with someone seconders that can give you something. You can have a bit of a variety and choose what you actually want.
And so how has your nutrition strategy progressed over the years?
Yeah, so I mean, it's a strange one, to be honest. My first 100 miler, I got by on only gels and juice, and I loved it.
Gels and juice.
And it worked. But from there, it stopped working. And so since then, I started to take more whole foods, sometimes sandwiches, fruit, but mix that with gels and bars and all that type of stuff as well.
So is it whatever gets you excited to eat? Because, I mean, it's not when you are that deep into one of those races, the last thing you want to do sometimes is get food down. So do you sort of then go figure out what do I really enjoy, and you try and put that into your nutrition strategy, provided that it is obviously mainly carbs?
Yeah. So obviously carbs are a massive win, but you need to just be getting food in. I think it's so tough to really figure out what you're going to want, but you have to get food in. I mean, you've seen me in some pretty dark spaces. In 100 milers where there's just nothing going in.
And whatever's going in is coming straight back out.
And it's such a hard place to be when you know that is essentially what's going to keep you going. And sometimes at that point, you just need to sit down, take a breather, have a bit of a laugh, and realize that, in a couple of minutes, you'll be okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to push through.
Or not.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of hours. I've seen you in some pretty dark places. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I think it just changes based on the distance and the intensity that you're planning on going out there for. But it is something that you have to train, right? So you want to know exactly what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be doing it. And I know you're a big fan of strategizing your race day plan with what you're going to be taking, when you're going to be taking it, when you're going to be picking it up from your seconders. I think that's all very important. And that's obviously the value of having someone like you guiding you through a race, because otherwise you just rock up there, you've got a bag of stuff that you're going to take, and then you don't even know what you're taking, when you're taking it, and then before you know it, you're not taking any of it anymore.
Yeah. I also think, in your longer races, your brain actually becomes a bit like dwarf, and you've got a strategy, and when you wake up in the morning and you're fresh, that strategy sounds amazing and you're going to stick to it 100%. But once you've run 100 kilometers and you've run through the night, it's like all of a sudden everything falls apart and your brain's just telling you, just keep going, not I need to take in more food. I mean, I paced Bryce this past weekend, and he just kept saying to me, should I have another gel? And I was like, yeah, if you can get it in, get another gel.
Handle it, yes.
Do it.
Yeah.
But in his mind, he didn't know if he should or if he should.
Yeah. And I mean, your decision making becomes so impaired.
Yeah.
especially the longer you go. I mean, if you're doing 100 miler, then you're likely going to be out there for more than a day.
Yeah.
If you're a good runner, you're going to be in just under a day, but a day of sleep deprivation, a day of consistent decision making, the hours blur into one another. What you had 2 hours ago might feel like was half an hour ago.
Totally.
And it becomes very difficult to remember where you're at, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where breaking down your race becomes very important. So if you know that you've got 16 kilometers between aid stations and you're going to be meeting your second in crew, if you've got a pack of food that's being given to you and you're giving back a pack of food, you can essentially see, oh, man, I've missed out on those 3 gels, that bar, and that sandwich that I was supposed to eat. So I'm clearly not hitting what I need to be hitting.
Numbers.
The numbers aren't there.
Yeah.
And when you give that back, your next pack, you need to get through that pack to make sure that you actually fuel yourself properly to get through the whole race.
I like that as a segue to actually going into race day strategy, because obviously, like road running, you got a strategy, you got a time that you want to go and run. With trail, you have an idea of what time you'd like to run, but generally, obviously, the longer you go, the more variables there are that you got to take into consideration, and the more can go wrong. But as a whole, what would be a solid race day strategy to apply in terms of a mentality that you can then take both to a trail marathon, 100 miler, 100K? You can obviously scale it, but what are sort of the things that runners should be thinking about going into race day?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned earlier, having a look at your race profile, I think that is probably the key to most of the strategy you're going to put together. Between that and how far you have between aid stations and refueling, I think that, we all know we should be getting a certain amount of carbohydrates in per hour. And like you said, it does sometimes get pretty blurred. You can't really remember, how many carbs you put into that bottle, how many gels you had in the last hour. So I think having a solid structured plan that you can break down into time, and okay, over this portion of the race, that's going to take me 2.5 hours. I've got this pack of food that I need to get through to make sure that I'm hitting those nutritional requirements, that I'm not going to bonk later on in the race. And so I think that's probably the biggest key is nutrition. Okay. I think so many people put so many hours into their training and hitting everything on their, day to day, they're ticking all the boxes, and then they get to race day and they just don't have a solid nutrition plan. And halfway through the race, they want to pull out and everything's just a waste. Nutrition on race day is more important than your day-to-day training.
No, for sure. I have to agree with that. When it comes to actual race day planning in terms of the pacing, is there any requirements there? Is it like you should have an idea of what effort you want to be at? You should have an idea of what heart rates, ranges you want to be on? Is it the case of negative pacing, or sort of going out a little bit slower, hoping that you have something in the tank later on? What would you say there?
Yeah, I think it's again very race specific. I mean, you could have a massive climb in the first half of the race, and the second half is all downhill.
Runnable fast.
And you need to have an idea of what's coming, and then make sure that your effort is designed around what you're good at as well. If you're really good at running downhills, don't go blow your legs on the first climb and you can't run any of the hills. So I think, sitting and having a proper look at the race profile, knowing what, the terrain's going to look like, that's all going to play into how you design your race strategy and where you're going to put your big efforts in. You need to know, this is what I'm really good at. These next 25 kilometers are where I'm going to put a lot of effort, but at the same time, it's perceived effort. Don't think that you can just sit and look at a heart rate and that's going to get you through that portion. Because, there's so many factors. You could have a really hot day. Your heart rate's through the roof. So
you're basically saying play to your strengths and also play to the strengths of the course that you are going to go and run, essentially.
Definitely. And I also think, in that, it comes down to running your own race. Because everyone has their own strengths. If you're going to go race Kane Riley, who is a phenomenal climber, look, it's going to be hard to stay with him for anyone.
Yeah.
But if you're going to go out guns blazing and you think you're going to stick with him over the first climb, you're going to destroy your whole race.
Yeah.
Whereas, you might be really good at technical descending and you might be a bit faster than him. Then focus on that. And don't get caught up in someone else's race. Because specifically in trail running, like there's so many variables that if you get caught up with someone else's strengths, you're going to hurt yourself, and then you don't have your strengths led on in the race.
Yeah. So put the ego in the back pocket, basically run your own race. But that must be a hard thing if you are someone that wants to podium or someone that wants to be competitive. How do you let your competition just run away from you? Or is it also the case of knowing your competition, knowing what they're good at, knowing what you're good at, sticking to your race, and then hoping that, when you put all the cards down on the table, you're the one that comes through on top?
Yeah, it is super tricky.
Because pacing must be difficult at the sharp end of the field. How do elite runners pace themselves? You watch these trail running races, these 100-milers, through the mountains, and oaks are gunning each other. So there's an element of, well, I'm throwing caution to the wind here, but, it's like hanging in as well.
It's tricky.
brutal.
I mean, I remember the first 100-miler that I did, and I was like, yeah, it's going to be like super chilled. No one can really run that hard. It's 100 miles. And I finished that race and I thought, okay, next year, Karkloof, I'm going to race. And I got to halfway and Jock Green was ahead of me by about 5 to 7 minutes. And we literally just burnt each other. We went out there. I wouldn't let him sit down in an aid station. So I knew he wants to sit down. I'd go straight through so that he got forced out. I wouldn't give him time to eat or anything because it was just... we were just going at each other to see who would blow first. And it ended up costing us both. And I came second and he came third. Someone ran past us with about 15, 20 Ks to go just because they were running their own race.
Yeah.
And it's such a tricky thing to manage because in my mind, I had to beat him. Yeah. And I couldn't let him run away from me, not realizing that someone else was running a smarter race behind us. And when we were both hurting, he was jogging along, catching us. So I definitely think that, running your own race is something that is so hard to really stick to. And I find that women are a lot better at it than men.
For sure.
Men get caught up, egos. No one's going to run away from me. I'm going to beat you.
I find in general that the longer the race goes on for, women become more favorable in performance and maintaining performance than men do. You mentioned something interesting there, which was the aid station, which I think is something that a lot of runners don't really know how to manage or how to deal. And I think if you're a road runner going to trail, the last thing you want to think about is potentially stopping, sitting, never mind letting your watch run whilst you are not actually moving, and now having to eat real food. I mean, that must feel like a foreign concept to a runner that isn't used to it.
Yeah, I think, it's something, again, that you've got to get your head around. I think sitting down and changing your shoes or changing your socks or, looking after your body, that's essentially what aid stations are about. It's about getting in there, washing your face off, trying to leave there feeling as fresh as possible, refueled, and thinking that the next portion of the race, that aid station is going to be setting you up for the next however many kilometers till you get to the next one, sorting out any blisters or chafe or anything like that.
Dealing with those problems head on, rather taking the time to sort them out now. Definitely. They don't get better with distance.
No. If you've got chafe and you don't stop to fix that, it's going to get horrible.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. So aid stations is one thing. Obviously, that's to set yourself up for success in your race. Now, obviously, we mentioned it briefly, but safety out there is paramount, right? Lots can go wrong on race day as well. There's so many uncontrollables the longer the race goes on for. And these are things that people don't often plan for. So I often think that planning for things that don't go according to plan, you're actually going to be even more prepared. So from you, what has been like the worst case scenario that you found yourself in a race, and how did you get yourself out of it?
So not in a race, in a training run actually was probably the worst case scenario I ever found myself in. We went to go do a recce of Sky Run, which is a 100-kilometer Lady Grey through Balloch. And I was running with a friend and my brother. And when we started at 5 a.m, we were doing a 65-kilometer section. My brother said, "Do you guys have a headlamp?" I laughed and said, "Bro, if we're still out there when it gets dark, we deserve to sleep out there." And it came back to bite us because my brother had a headlamp, but he had ITB, so he turned around. And the guy James and myself didn't have headlamps, and we had never done the route before. And halfway through, James got ITB. We started moving a lot slower than what we had planned, and it got dark, and it was really dark. And we were stuck out on the mountain. We had raincoats, and that was it. We didn't have thermals. We didn't have headlamps.
This is before your smart The Garmin watch
Yeah,
had
yeah. I mean, we had a
lamp on
GPS
it.
that we were using as a torch, but we could barely see, and we didn't know if we were going to go off the edge of a cliff. We didn't know what was coming.
Yeah. Wow.
And we were just really lucky. My brother had gone down to Balloch and met one of the farmers, and they drove up to the furthest point that they could possibly drive. And just by chance, we could see their headlamps and we see the car lights. And we managed to get to them, but it was freezing cold. Like it was very, very cold. I don't know that we would have made it through the night, to be honest. And we didn't even know where to go. The GPS was dying, and you're just stuck in the mountains in the dark.
Your food's running out.
Yeah, we had run out of food long before. So that was a big eye opener for me. And I mean, my advice to anyone who's going into the mountains is definitely take more than you think you need. Definitely take your headlamp. Definitely take thermals,
Safety
raincoats, safety blanket, extra
Whistle.
food, whistle. Take everything. I mean, if you don't use it, you're still safe. But if you do use it, you're going to be very thankful.
Fair enough. I think one thing that a lot of people struggle with is knowing when to stop. So how do you know when, when is it the right time to turn back? When do you put your ego in your back pocket? When do you say, I've had enough? Even in a race, you could be 120 kilometers into a 160 kilometer race, but you're constantly throwing up and you're unable to even take a couple of steps. Like, how do you know when you are so done with an event, and how do you make that call?
I think it's quite a funny thing. I think a lot of people actually quit in longer races before they should. I think, I've said it a couple of times, but I think it's really easy to say to people, I'm going to suffer, or, I'm tough. I'm going out there. I'm going to leave it all out there. Like, we've heard it so many times. But you have stomach issues for 4 or 5 hours. There are not a lot of people that will push through that.
Yeah.
And very often, I've had a couple of friends that have pulled out of 100 milers, and because they've had stomach issues, and they climb in the car, and an hour later they're eating pizza and feeling fine. And then you just feel like an idiot. Because if you had just sat on the side of the trail for a bit, allowed yourself to relax, you would have been fine. And you're hours and hours ahead of cutoff time. So it's not like that's even a factor. You're literally just convincing yourself that you're not going to make it, so you're quitting. So I don't think that there's, from that side, I don't think that you should really quit too easy. But I think it's funny, we did Bastille Day trail run.
Cape Town.
And it was freezing cold. And I was running with my brother, and we had to go up and tag a peak, and it got gnarly out there. And we both looked at each other and said, well, how do you know when to actually call it? How do you say, like, this is ridiculous?
This is stupid.
And my brother looked at me and was like, well, I guess if someone else is going, then I can do it. So I'm not going to call it if someone else is willing to go. And Jock Green, same guy that I raced at Carcliff, he actually got hypothermia and he almost died. And we managed to drag him off the mountain, but he got to the point where it's the scariest thing, watching someone in hypothermia where they come to terms with the fact they're going to die.
Yeah.
And he just looked and said, well, guys, don't worry about me, I'm fine. And I was like, no, bro, that's not okay.
Can't leave a man behind.
Oh, no. So we ended up snuggling on the side of the mountain and getting clothes and dragging him off.
But that's also what trail running is really cool about. It's the community.
Yeah.
It's not so much about, oh, look at me, look at what I can do. It might be a little bit like that when you're racing someone, but when all things are removed, then, you're all mates and you're all sharing a beer together and there's no pretense.
Yeah, for sure. I think some of these longer events, you have to know that you will help someone along the way. And
you're the only people out there.
Yeah. And in the same way, you are at some point probably going to need help from some of those people. So, it's a very tight-knit community that will definitely help each other. So
So speaking of that tight-knit community, we've got some amazing trail running races in this country. Obviously we could go through a whole list of them, but just briefly talking about them, if someone's wanting to do a cool trail race, obviously it depends on where you're at, but where would you start? Like you mentioned Bastille Day, like that's a nice trail run. Tough, if you're not used to that terrain. Is UTCT accessible? If you're not able to train it, even if you're doing the shorter distances, something like a Carcliff that you've done many times, or more of these like smaller local trail races. There's so many. You could do one every weekend.
So I think if you're getting into it, the key would be to find, your local trail runs. KZN Trail Running for us, I think they've got a race every single weekend. and just get familiar with what trail running is actually all about. Once you get into it, then start looking at your bigger events, Ultra Trail Cape Town, Ultra Trail Drakensberg, the Mat, Karkloof. Karkloof is probably one of the easier ones to get into. There's a variety of races there.
Yeah, not too technical.
No, not too technical.
Yeah.
Generally, if you're coming from a road background, you can run there. But yeah, the bigger mountain races, I would definitely say familiarize yourself with some trail running first, get used to everything.
Make sure you know what you're doing before adventuring out that far.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you enjoy it.
Cool. I've loved the way this conversation has gone. I think we've covered a lot of topics. In terms of just going over a couple of quick fire questions, I'm going to give you a question. Just first thing that comes to mind, bro. Your favorite trail run?
Fish River Canyon.
Fish River Canyon. Tell me why, because there's a story there.
Well, I mean, I've done it twice. Fish River Canyon is just, it's such an incredible place to go run, and I don't think that too many people actually get to go and do it. I think the waiting list just to do the hike is incredible. I think it's a 4 or 5 day hike. 100K is, but it's just
beautiful.
So beautiful. Like you're down there, you by yourself. There's wild horses and there's wild leopard and a lot of the people run through the night. But just such an incredible place to go run and such a privilege to go and experience that.
Love that. Favorite running shoe?
Sure.
The one shoe that makes your toes feel nice and cozy.
For trail or road, though, that's a tough one.
Hey, favorite shoe, bro? That's the question.
The Aeroglides.
That's a big one. Your most underrated skill that a trail runner could have on the trails? Descending, huh? Okay, so practice your descending.
Descending. Big times to be made there.
Biggest fear on the trails?
Hypothermia.
First-hand experience of that one. Your dream race that you would like to do?
I would love to do Western States. I've said it from the beginning. I mean, I think that it's just the oldest 100-miler. Oh, man, I'd love to go line up there.
And a runner, a trail runner that inspires you?
I think Doug Pickard.
Yeah.
That guy's just incredible, man.
We've got to get him on the pod.
You have to. He's a family man. He's a businessman. Yeah. He's a trail runner, and he's a phenomenal trail runner.
Beast.
And I just don't know, pick his brain how he manages to fit everything in.
How does he all do it?
And he's a fantastic guy.
Brilliant. Andrew, thank you, man. It's been a pleasure having you on the pod. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and insights and your experiences. I really appreciate it. And give me a little insight as to how runners can get a hold of you if they want to get coached or if they would like to find out more.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, Andrew_Erasmus 2. Yeah.
2 because you're a twin.
I'm a twin. Yeah.
Number 1 wasn't available, bro.
Yeah. He was gone.
Damn.
No, 2 because I come second at Karkloof. Or on Facebook, Andrew Erasmus. Send me a message.
I'll make sure that I tag that into the podcast description. Thanks, buddy. Have a good one. All the best with your trail running for the rest of the year.
Yeah, hope we get you on the trails.
Thanks for listening to Making a Runner. I hope you enjoyed the episode and took something valuable away from the conversation. If you did, please take a moment to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your running buddies. It's really the best way to help more runners find the show and grow this incredible community. Here's to wishing you strong legs, clear minds, and all the joy this journey has to offer, wherever the road or trail may take you. And just remember, in running, like in life, it's not about perfection. It's about consistency over time. So just keep showing up, and I can guarantee you your best running will be ahead of you. Bye for now.